Welcome to the Diversity and Inclusion on Air podcast. This podcast is a program of the Association of American Veterinary Medical Colleges Diversity Matters Initiative. The podcast explores various issues related to diversity and inclusion in the veterinary profession and provides the AAVMC an opportunity to offer ongoing diversity programming to our member institutions as well as all veterinary professionals. My name is Lisa Greenhill, and I'm the Senior Director for Institutional Research and Diversity at AAVMC. So on this episode, this special episode of Diversity and Inclusion on Air, I am joined by two 2019 AAVMC award winners. First, I am sitting down to chat a bit with Dr. Kenita Rogers, the Executive Associate Dean and Director of College Inclusion and Diversity at Texas A&M University. And then after my chat with Kenita, I will be sitting down with Dr. India Napier, who is a DVM student, third year, almost fourth year student at Tufts University, Cummings School of Veterinary Medicine. She is the India is the Patricia Lowry Diversity Leadership Scholarship Awardee for 2019. So, as I mentioned, I'm sitting down with Kenita first. So the award that Kenita has been awarded for 2019, of course, is the Iverson Bell Award. The award is named after Dr. Bell, who is a 1949 graduate of Michigan State University. Dr. Bell went on to be a founding professor of small animal medicine at Tuskegee University. He eventually relocated to Indiana, where he was in private practice for more than 35 years. Dr. Bell was very active in organized veterinary medicine, serving both in the Indiana Veterinary Medical Association and as the vice president of the AVMA in the 1970s, early 1970s. He was very active in veterinary education and was instrumental in the founding of Purdue University's College of Veterinary Medicine. He was also a social justice advocate, very passionate about increasing diversity in veterinary medicine. The AAVMC's Iverson Bell Symposium originally began as a gathering of interested veterinarians and allies committed to increasing diversity in the profession, and it is, of course, named after Dr. Bell, and it remains the longest running diversity-focused meeting in veterinary medicine. So the award that is named in his honor at AAVMC, we have certainly been giving for many, many years, and here are the criteria for selection. The Iverson Bell Award recognizes individuals who have a demonstrated commitment to promoting diversity and inclusion in academic veterinary medicine through contributions that may have an impact in any area: college, local area, region, state, and/or national arenas. This individual has played a significant role in the recruitment, development, and retention of pre-vet and DVM students, faculty, residents, interns, all from underrepresented or disadvantaged and/or marginalized backgrounds. And finally, this individual has included and promoted diversity in the veterinary medical profession through the inclusion and infusion of diversity issues in the college environment through programming and curriculum additions. And so with that very, very lengthy, so I am pleased to welcome to the podcast Dr. Kenita Rogers, our 2019 awardee. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm thrilled.
We are so excited. We're so excited. So, Kenita, why don't you give us a little bit about your background? Tell us about yourself.
I always tell folks that I'm an old white chick from West Virginia. So that's how I see myself. So I'm originally from West Virginia. I have a brother who's a veterinarian. I went to school at LSU for my DVM degree, did a year at the University of Georgia. And then I've been at Texas A&M University ever since. So I've been there 35 years, did my residency there. I'm a boarded internist and oncologist. And then about 12 years went into administration and got lucky enough to be asked to be the director for diversity and inclusion at Texas A&M in 2011. And since that time, I really found my passion, I think.
Awesome. So how did you make that, how did you make that transition? Well, let's talk a little bit about your career. How did you make the transition first from faculty to administration?
So actually, I got asked to apply when actually Debbie Kochever was the associate dean at Texas A&M. We'd been colleagues and faculty members together for many, many years, over 20 years. And then she went to be the dean of Tufts, where she's obviously been incredibly successful and an awesome dean. At that time, there were 5 of us, all women, in the college that applied for the position, and I was fortunate enough to get it at that time, not knowing too much about it. I did the Associate Dean for Professional Programs for the DVM students for 10 years, and then the last 2 years, I've moved into being the Executive Associate Dean.
All right. So tell us how you got into diversity work.
You know, I've thought about that a little bit. So, my gut feeling, my soul feeling is that actually a lot of diversity work is just about having a heart for kindness. And I think a lot of people who are clinicians actually do diversity work and don't know about it, just by being inclusive, having good communication skills, etc. But how I got into it by name, at least, was Texas A&M started in about 2011 range up to about 2014. Somewhere in that range, they really started getting meaningful impact for diversity and inclusion, meaning that every year, every college and unit has had to say, you know what, you're going to present a report every year, and every other year you're going to present orally in front of the president and the provost, and we're going to give you money. If you are good, they really put their money where their mouth was, and every year they have doled out about $1 million across campus for good works. And so we've earned a little over $1 million ourselves since that time. So first of all, it was clear that it was impactful to the college. I had to learn a lot from people like yourself, for example, Christine Stanley, the folks here at Purdue, et cetera. I've learned a lot. But I got into it sort of serendipitously. One, being a clinician, I think I had the heart for it. But the second thing was learning the importance of it through our campus and then through our college.
Yeah, sure. So I remember when we first started working together in your role as associate dean, and it was really kind of when we really kind of started connecting was during the first climate survey, and I just which was like around 2011. Yes. And it was really fascinating because you know, for our listeners, Kenita went hard into like of making sure there was a very high response rate, and some of the things that you did were just so much fun. You made the project really a lot of fun, and it actually fostered real impact nationally, because there was this wonderful kind of you know, at the time I created this this kind of real live ranking of response rates, and people were like, we better than
this competitive lot. It always works, right?
Right. And so you know, what do you think have been some of the most impactful things that you've been involved with respect to diversity and inclusion at Texas A&M?
So I think I would list 4 or 5 things, probably, I hope. One is we've just rolled out a new curriculum, and we were very intentional about that in the sense that there are core competencies. Before we did anything else, what are the core competencies? It was very clear that diversity, inclusion, cultural competence, conflict management, wellness, all of those things that sometimes can come in a similar package, were going to be core competencies, and our students weren't going to graduate without having good knowledge of those. And so I think that has been a real effort and really important. I hope it's climate in the entire college. So we're one of the 2 colleges that actually has an undergraduate program as well. We have a very large undergraduate program that has 21 or 2,200 students in it. And so those so everything from the undergraduates to our DVM students, to our graduate students, faculty, staff, and beyond, we need to have people come in and say, you know what, I feel welcome here and I belong. And so there's a lot of initiatives there. I'd say the third thing, and this has just become more evident to me recently, is that really from the leadership down, there are real conversations going on in our college about these things. We took a picture the other day, and there was 0 questions from our executive committee whether they were going to do it or not. We went outside in front of our new building, which has this very iconic horse statues, and half of us held the rainbow flag and half held the bisexual flag, and got this really beautiful picture. And so So there's no question about these comments coming up and about them being important and discussed. And to me, that's a big deal. It's just that they're part of everyday conversation. Mm-hmm. And then I think maybe the other thing that I would say something about is we've really focused on making sure that staff as well as faculty are really growing and feeling included. And so professional development activities, and particularly things in conflict management. So this very second, I'm sitting at the Beck Agricultural Center at Purdue University, where Dr. Nance Watson and I are training their third cohort in mediation. At Texas A&M, we will be in April doing our 8th cohort in mediation training, half faculty, half staff. And so to have a common conflict language, let people grow, have professional development, and see this whole area as a place that everybody fits in and they are a part of it from some aspect of the broad definition of diversity. I'd say I'm pretty proud of how people have bought into that and are engaged in that.
Absolutely, absolutely, and just it's just really important for as a friend and a colleague, Kenita. I want you to know, and I want our listeners to know that the impact has really been so far beyond Texas A&M. Texas A&M is really the work that you and your colleagues have been able to do, the movement that you all have been able to really kind of commit to in the last decade, more than a decade, has just been really quite remarkable. And you all should be really proud. I remember that after the 2011 survey, the climate survey that we did at AAVMC with myself and Paige Carmichael at Georgia, we really saw some really amazing things across the country. But I just remember at that time, before the height of the bathroom, controversies. Yeah. And I remember, during that study, we found that our LGBT students were probably nationally experiencing the most marginalization. Certainly there were other groups that were experiencing marginalization. And it's not like the Oppression Olympics, but there were some very key things that we found with that particular population that, certainly impacted their performance, their well-being, their potentially their willingness to stay in the profession and all of those kinds of things. And one of those things was just access to bathrooms.
Amazing. I remember the first time so we have now throughout all of our buildings, including our hospitals, probably over 20 gender neutral bathrooms. But the first time I heard was a transgendered student that I did not know was transgendered, first year student. I heard the story later from a staff member that for an entire year, and it still breaks my heart today to even talk about it, had to think hard about whether they could go to the restroom during the day at our college. And they found a place, and there was one, but it was a little closet somewhere that actually no one knew about, and wasn't even marked as a restroom, and it was one. But today, and that really struck me of how here was a person. How could they love Texas A&M? How could they love being here? How could they have a full experience if we weren't meeting the basic needs of respect? And so that was a huge impact on me. That one student who is now fully transitioned and is a very successful practitioner in Houston, Texas. And I'm really grateful to him for bravery and conversations later and helping me to understand what our commonalities are and how we can just meet each other's needs on the most basic level.
That basic baseline Maslow, right? And
basic, yeah. So, absolutely. I'm so grateful.
At the time, I just remember that Texas A&M was one of the first schools where, I just remember us having this conversation, and you said, well, we have bathrooms that, are single stall and they're kind of throughout the building. We could just take the sign down.
Like the cheapest thing ever. That's all we had to do. And everybody was like, oh, well, it actually helps women. Now that we have so many women in the profession, no one is standing in a line. And I mean, it really was good for everybody, right? Yeah. And the impetus was taking good care of everybody that we didn't know we weren't taking good care of.
Yeah.
And it was, I just remember being devastated that there would be anybody who would feel that uncomfortable among us. And that was a big learning lesson for me.
Yeah. So tell us when you found out about the award, what did that feel like?
Oh, wow. You know, so I've been at Texas A&M a long time. I've been in the dean's office long enough that I've gotten to see a lot of these awarded over time. And I've always been so thrilled for whoever got it, because there are people who've made an impact on me and have taught me things either through the literature or their talks or their actions and mentorship. So first of all, again, this might sound a little melodramatic, but it kind of took my breath away a little bit, because this really is kind of I consider a real highlight of my career, honestly, because to get an award for something that you love and are so passionate about, I mean, what gets better than that, right? And so, and then the other thing I think I felt was really humbled, and because there's so many people to be indebted to, right? Because this kind of work is work you learn about and you keep going, and there's all kind of hills and valleys and coming and going of the goods and the bads and frustrations and things. And so to think about how many people, and particularly to look at the past list, is really humbling. And I think I would just say thrilling for me. Thrilling.
Oh, well, congratulations. We're so excited. We're so excited. So what do you want to see more of? What would you, kind of looking into the future, what would you like to see more of related to diversity and inclusion in veterinary medicine?
Maybe two things. One is I've been so gratified, again, within the college, how many new conversations and how common it is to have these really meaningful conversations, whether it be with students or the executive committee, whoever. And I guess I would first of all, I would just like to see that this wasn't about preaching to the choir, as we often said, that this really is a conversation that everybody is having and pulling in the same harness toward the same goal. So I know that's a long ways to go, perhaps, but I see a lot of progress. I have so much hope because of the generation of students we have now. They believe different things. They are more open. They think about things differently, and love to solve these complex problems. So I'm thrilled about that. The other thing, and you and I have worked on this a little bit, I would like to see, and what I'm interested in, is a lot more intentional research, whether it be through admissions, curricula, whatever. What is the impact we're having on our students? How do we do things better? How do we treat everybody fairly and equitably? And what does that look like for them and how they feel? We talk about veterinary medicine being the most wholehearted experience in terms of biomedical education and how many things people can do, but are we really preparing them to go out into the world and do all the things that we are really trained to do, and be with people and communicate well with people and that sort of thing? So I'd like to see a little more intentional research. I think some folks are starting to do that, and I think that's just as important as some of the scientific things that we're famous for doing. I would like us to see us get a little farther down the line and really some nitty-gritty information for people that they can take and say what are best practices and incorporate it in their own colleges or practices or whatever.
Absolutely. So faculty and administrators and Wiley students who are out there listening, this is a whole area of research for you to consider.
Absolutely. There's so much. Yeah.
To work with you.
As Lisa knows, she and I and a small group of really awesome folks are working on just trying to get down to what are the questions.
Yeah.
It's actually difficult. That's how wide open this area is.
Yeah.
Is that there's still a lot to be done, and I'm excited about that, actually.
Absolutely. It's a great way to contribute to the profession. All right. It's a great way to contribute to the profession. There's some really great opportunities. So definitely be sure to, consider research areas related to diversity and inclusion in veterinary medicine. So Kenita, you have always seemed so team oriented. You've got a great team down there at Texas A&M. You've got a great team. Having issues here with my mic. Great team down there at Texas A&M. So no one does this. I mean, we certainly recognize the achievements and contributions of a singular person with an award, but I know that no one is an island. So I want to give you a shout out to an opportunity to shout out members of your team that contribute to this effort at Texas A&M University.
Okay. That's awesome. Thank you. So you're right about it being a team, and there I see you have a team.
Yeah, right.
And actually, it goes from top to bottom. So our previous Vice President of Diversity, Christine Stanley's done a lot of talking in veterinary medicine, and has been very engaged. And she wrote the diversity plan, or helped write the diversity plan for Texas A&M. So a lot of it comes from that level. Certainly our executive team is all in. Every department head, certainly the dean, every associate dean. And I'll give a special shout out to Karen Cornell and our professional programs office. They continue to do the work at the curriculum. But I'll tell you what, two people I'd really love to give a shout out to are my previous and my current administrative assistants, who both named Nicole. One is Nicole Parker, one's Nicole Ellis, who've been unbelievably creative with websites and ideas and things, and really been the heart and soul of it. And then it's about faculty, students, and staff being open to the message, right, and taking it as their message as well. So I'm actually proud of everybody at Texas A&M, to be honest about it.
It's a great crew. And so you mentioned Dr. Christine Stanley. For folks familiar with the podcast, we featured Dr. Stanley on episode 30. She was talking about diversity, inclusion, and institutional change. So if you want to hear more from the Texas A&M team, check out episode 30 of the podcast. So as we wrap up this short interview, Kenita, what do you want to tackle next? What's on the horizon for you?
Well, I'm one of those people that has a list, and I like to check it off. I think one of the big things is we've just written and gotten through the executive committee a diversity and inclusion strategic plan that has a lot of elements to it. So I think working on the facets of that to help grow our faculty and staff in those areas is probably on top of the list. We've gotten the HEAT Award twice the last 2 years. And so we want to get it 3 years in a row. That's been really impactful for us to have an outside group look at us and say, yeah, you're doing good work. And we want to continue that. I think another thing we'd like to do is certainly there's a number of initiatives, climate, diversity, et cetera, that are out there that we need to do. But I think the biggest things we're working on now is trying to think of ways, how do we help other folks? How do we expand our reach? How do we help others celebrate their successes? And again, as I said, I'm here in Purdue right now, but doing mediation training. But what are the things that we can do? We're really looking at things. How do we upscale some of the things that we're doing and others are doing so that we can have greater impact in the work over time? Because it just never stops, right? I mean, people come and go and new issues arise, and what we need are a lot of people who are passionate and love this work and are looking forward to seeing what the next problems are so they can keep solving them and have us get better and better as a profession.
Awesome. Well, we all look forward to seeing what happens with all of those efforts. We know that you and your team will do great. I certainly know that I will be hanging out with you.
Yes.
Eager to work. Kenita is always one of my go-to dream team folks that I want to include in projects. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's next for you all. So,
all right, me too.
Huh?
Me too.
So any parting words? We're so excited for you and very, very, very proud of you, Kenita, and the entire team at Texas A&M University.
Well, thank you so much. And like I said, I've learned a lot from you and so many others, and I can't wait to receive the award so I can thank some folks that have really I think made the difference in this work and helped keep us all inspired as we move forward and keep doing better and better.
Awesome. So yes, the award, the Iverson Bell Award, will be presented to Dr. Rogers on March 8th in Washington, D.C. as a part of the Association of American Veterinary Medical Colleges annual conference. So if you have not registered for that conference, there is still shameless plug. Shameless plug. But definitely be sure to come out and see all of our awardees, and this one in particular. So with that, we'll wrap our time with Kenita. Thank you so much for taking time to talk a little bit about
thank you
work and looking backwards and looking forward. So we really appreciate that.
All right. Thank you. And see you soon.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.